So there's this new piece of like self-help advice going around on the internet, and there's a few TED talks about it, and I've watched one of them. And the advice goes something like, to find work that you enjoy, don't follow your passion. And I don't think like I don't know. I just don't know. Really, I don't follow your passion. Like, don't do something you're passionate about in life. Oh, I don't know about that. That doesn't seem that it's counterintuitive, but it is right. You should do something you're dispassionate about, or like dispassionately interested in, or like interested in, but I don't really have a dog in the fight type of way. So I do have quite a lot of interests like those. So how do I sort those out from the mix? Like physics, for instance, I try to approach my interest in physics, which is rather deep and frankly passionate, in the science of physics, with total dispassion and no biases at all, and just hunt for the truth within it. And treat it, yeah, completely dispassionately. Never get invested in an idea like string theory or loop quantum gravity or Euclidean quantum gravity or anything like this. Treat general relativity with suspicion. Treat quantum mechanics with suspicion. Why not? And treat it all with suspicion. Potentially. Then there's some things you can't necessarily treat with quite so much suspicion, like conservation principles and things like that. Like, energy is always conserved. Energy cannot be Matter and energy can't be created or destroyed. They can just be transformed into different forms. You can turn matter into energy, but you can't destroy either matter or energy. And we've got other things like interest in stand-up comedy. I am deeply passionate about that. I've been pursuing that for many, many years, and writing. Wanted to be a writer since I was probably 13. So writing like little comedy skits, and that was the writing thing that came first. But I always sort of knew I'd end up doing stand-up comedy also. I'm passionate about those things. And there's all the sort of micro passions, shall we say, that I have in life on, for instance, publishing, I think, would be one, journalism's another, lesser passions, if you like, but encompass a whole array of interests and stuff I'm very, very invested in. And now in the last few years, I'm getting into agriculture and farming, because that's yet another thing I'm passionate about. I think that's an incredibly important industry, and possibly the most important industry, considering its future utility. Things like providing fuel oils, textiles, paper, carbon capture, building materials, and whatnot, and medicine as well. And if you understand the links between agricultural economics, geopolitics, history, you can unpick all sorts of things. You can unravel this grand and obscene narrative in history of global conflicts being perpetrated over trying to annex things like trademarks for morphine, heroin, and cocaine from German pharmaceutical companies before the First World War, and this led to the First World War. Conflicts in Turkey over the Anatolian poppy fields, and other things, and world wars fought over drug money, and the unfathomable amounts of money that would have been made by Western corporate interests as a result of winning those two world wars. So, first instance, got heroin, morphine, and cocaine signed over to the Entente nations, France, United Kingdom, and United States. The end of the Treaty of Versailles. Then after the Second World War, we have Operation Paperclip and all the German pharmacologists being shuffled into the United States along with their research. And the corporate behemoths kind of controlling that entire process. So, like, pursuing those sorts of things and writing about those sorts of things, I am passionate about it. I feel that I must invest my time and energy into pursuing these things, because I think they're of incredible importance. And I must, devote time and energy and effort to doing it, even though it's incredibly hard. So it's like, to find work that you enjoy, do something you're not passionate about. Like, do I enjoy what I do, whatever that is, whatever that amounts to? Like, I do. But fleetingly, possibly, or I'm going to go through like quite a lot of grind to get to the happy place and then take pleasure in it and pride in it, possibly, or pride event, or maybe not even pride ever in it, and just recognize, because maybe that's like almost a trick, because I think when something's like really really polished and it's really as good as it could be, you look at it and you're not actually proud of it. You're just looking at it objectively with a totally cool head and thinking, it is now as good as it could be. Okay, right? And there's like, it's like a master sculptor sort of looks at a thing, and I don't think I've actually made anything like this, and that's probably quite telling, and probably quite a sign of actually how juvenile I am in approaching things like creative practices, that I've never really, because I've gone through things wanting to believe that it's as good as it could be, but just knowing it isn't very often. Maybe I've had one poem like this that I couldn't actually improve upon, and I did sort of get this impression from it, and I sort of saw it once and I was like, it is done now, you know? And I think it's that my mind is a bully poem. I think that's done. I wrote this new long poem, or this first part of a long poem. The long poem called Modular Arithmetic. This is part -4 of it. I read this on stage at the Bell tonight, and it went down okay-ish. But there's just, oh God, there might be a million, well, not a million things wrong with it, I don't think. I think maybe like more like 10 or 20 things that could be improved, possibly. And all the poems on my Instagram, I just look through every single one of them. Like, I just need to write them all out again and again and again, each one, and not keep jumping the gun in this stupid process, just blasting poetry out into the ether. What's the point? It's just, like, you know, like drafts. They just read, anyone reading is just going to read a draft. That's not good. It doesn't, it's not, a poem like needs to be totally put clean. Like, it can have no obvious flaws. They're like jewels, aren't they? Or supposed to be. And like, I know, like, you shouldn't be able to look at a poem and think of a way that it could be improved. I don't think. I think that's when poetry really is poetry and not like a nascent phase of poetry. But yeah. And with comedy, I fumble around and fuck up on stage all the time, and even now, because I've got so many other preoccupations, like other passions, competing passions, and I think the issue of having competing passions might be really, well, a slightly dangerous path to walk, actually, and that if you're going to have passions at all, definitely pursue what you're passionate about in life. Remember that it's hard. A lot of the time, it's not very enjoyable. Like, that's the horrible thing about it. In my prose writings, I don't like writing prose at all. I love the process of coming up with ideas for it, and you know, seeing the characters in my head and like, you know, hearing their voices in my head, hearing how they talk, and imagining, you know, the scenes in my book like as a movie. That's great. That's great fun, sure, but that's just imagination. You know, that's like the imagination part of creativity. Then there's the grind, which is very tough. Very, very tough to try and get anything solid out of something. Ooh, tricky. But then again, with prose writing, I do fall back on other examples of, like, I'm reading Dune at the moment by Frank Herbert, and guess what? There are typos in it. So that's an excuse for us to feel less bad about ourselves, I think. And in terms of sort of things I read as books, I do read like just the great authors, I think. Like, yeah, Hemingway and Pynchon and Rushdie's on my shelf, and see Kurt Vonnegut, I'm a big Kurt Vonnegut fan, Seaballs, those sorts. And those people are writing perfect books. Maybe I can't write perfect books. Maybe I can't write perfect poems. Or maybe I'm just getting there now. And then other reasons not to feel so bad in your 20s as well, like Christopher Hitchens, who's one of the great writers of non-fiction, saying that I wasn't 30 till I really could write. So, okay, I can feel less bad about myself, but it does not mean I need to stop trying and really putting in effort and really putting in dedication to something like any kind of creative practice. Like, yeah, you bully yourself and you beat yourself up constantly. You think, I'm not good enough, I'll never make it, I'll never make it, I'll never make it. It's like, well, with that attitude, you won't ever make it. So you need to keep going and just think of something and make it really good. And we sort of all know this really. It's just that sort of the internal self-help monologue, and don't read any self-help. All of it is a waste of time. Just figure out how to do it somehow. And if you want it badly enough, you'll figure out how to do it. You'll figure out the answers, I think. And I don't know. Do I know how to do it? Not really. I can't. Like, what is this, like, advice, self-help stuff? I'm not going to sell it. I would never sell self-help. No. But I mean, I'll give it away for free, sure, just to get this crap off the market. And like any kind of advice that's telling you, like, oh, don't do something you're passionate about. Just like do something where you can be a mediocrity. So you're not interested in that. Yeah, you might have a perfectly fulfilling life in other ways. Get to like go have like Italian food in restaurants, nice salary, house in a reasonable area, and yeah, work's a bit like boring and so on. Like, I'm not necessarily criticizing people like that who want that from life, if that is what you want from life. However, other people out there want something different to that. And I think I'm one of those people. And I really enjoy a tougher existence and dedicating myself towards a higher purpose than just working within the system or what have you. I in farming, like if I end up doing like any kind of like typical job, in employment with other people or for other people, like I hope it will be in dairy farming, because that is actually something I'm passionate about, and that's a very hard life. It's 12 days on, 2 days off. That's typical. It's up at 4 in the morning for milking, and then out of work for about 9:30, hours breakfast, back in for a couple of hours, then a couple of hours sleep in the middle of the day, then milking at 2 o'clock or 2:30, and you're done by 5 or 5:30 or 6. And it's good in like less busy times of the year as well. And it's a very tough life. But I just sense that something about the way I'm constructed, and I do come from a farming background as well, so that's certainly the reason for it, makes it appeal to me and makes me want to, live that sort of life. If I can't do this creative, sciencey, philosophical, poetic stuff, and like balancing those two as well, I actually have managed to do it. As I've said in a couple of other videos before, I think, like I've been really quite productive and very good at time management while working on farms. I redrafted Sergeant Arston, my novella, twice in just my few hours after work. 2,000 words a day. Got that done in it'll be 30,000 words, 15 days. And I tend to say I don't work quite as hard when I'm not doing that, actually. So it might be actually really valuable to have dairy farming in my life for that reason. I'm tempted to think that. whoa, hard shit. It is. Yeah, if you want like the wife and kids, the house in suburbia, I don't think like anyone's really going to stop you doing that. I don't want to. I mean, work you enjoy is, enjoy your work. You should be not passionate about it. Okay, well maybe even because like, do I enjoy what I do? I do, yes. Generally though, probably not actually, and it's extremely hard. Yeah, racking your brains trying to think of something, or like trying to unpick some incredibly hard problem in something like theoretical physics of all things, or trying to think of stand-up material. So you've got loads of it. It all needs refining, working on stage, and then you've got the other issue of trying to get comedy spots here, there, and everywhere. Open mics and comedy open mics and bathrooms. Those are ram-packed with everyone wanting to do it. And going on the festivals, then you've got to think about money and no. It's grinding. Writing novels, like, that in itself is a grind. Journalism as a freelance reporter or freelance opinion writer, commentator or polemicist or what have you, that's a grind. It's all a fucking grind. Poet, that's a grind. It gets to a really great place, and the things that you get out of it is more than enjoyment. It's more than mere like, you get profound feelings of satisfaction. It's like an element of love is what it gives you, more than like mere like woo, pleasure. Yeah, it is. It's better, in my opinion. It's not better for everyone, fine. If you want to like do the 9 to 5 in the corporate world and clock in at the office and fill in the reports, whatever. Okay, fine. And go on your holidays for 3 weeks of the year, 2 weeks of the year to some whatever place, somewhere sunny. Cool. I'm not going to stop you with doing that. I don't think many people would. But I don't know. I just think, and the attempt to make a difference as well with something that must involve passion. That could not involve passion. You see a problem in the world, you devote energy to trying to fix it. You must be passionate. Like if you're dispassionate about others, like I don't know, it says like war in Ukraine. You're trying to think of ways to end that, and it doesn't fire something within you like, no, well, we should stop the war in Ukraine. It's like, yeah. Like, well, you wouldn't even do that much, would you? You'd just be like, oh, war going on. I don't care. Like, well, you're not helping, are you? If you don't care at all, it doesn't fire strong emotion in you, passion. Is that what David Hume said? Reason must be the slave of the passions, not the other way around. I agree with that, I think. I'm pretty certain I agree with it. And like these like spew-tards like crafting their self-help gobbledygook gibberish just for a quick buck. Like they are not really following their passion, are they? Maybe they should be. And maybe they should have fucking tried a bit harder. Yeah, because if you don't try hard enough at something, it's like, well, then you're not really passionate enough about it, are you? Obviously. They should try a bit harder before that. One failure. There was one failure too many in their minds, or in their parents' minds, or whatever, and they go, I'll do something easy, I'm not passionate about, like selling self-help and doing marketing courses for rooms full of gullible corp types. And I'll make a nice bit of doing that. Or you can be Van Gogh out in the fields of northern France, Provence, painting in poverty for his entire life and contributing something astounding for civilization. And do that instead, more like, instead of getting a cheap fucking self-help course out there to flog to gullible suits and do something worthwhile with your time. Thank you for watching. Bye.